نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. I'll be continuing from Surah Al-Waqi'a, where I had done a few months back, I believe 2 months back. And inshallah we'll carry on from verse, I believe, number 22, and then we'll see how far we get, inshallah. So those who are following, if you're looking in your mushaf and trying to follow the verses, I'll be starting from verse number 22 of Surah Al-Waqi'ah, inshallah. So just before I actually go into the actual new content, to review some of the older content that I had discussed last time, so we can pick up from there. In Surah Al-Waqi'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off with some of the, you can say, events that will unfold on the Day of Judgment. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا. You're going to be split up into three types. Everybody from the beginning till the end, there's going to be three categories everybody's going to be split up into. What are those three categories? Number one, you have as-sabiqun as-sabiqun. You have those who are considered the foremost, the people who are always rushing towards good, right? Those are the first category. The second category is just in general, ashabul yamin, the people who will be given the book in their right hands. There are both these categories that I mentioned are people of Jannah. Both of them are people of Jannah. However, one happens to be more afdal, one happens to be more virtuous. They were always hastening towards good, right? As the word sabaq alludes towards, or it gives an indication. So these as-sabiqun, they were always in this dunya looking for opportunities to go ahead in their deen, to go ahead in gaining nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you have ashabul yamin, those people who will enter Jannah as well, but they're not necessarily at the same rank as as-sabiqun. And then finally, may Allah protect us from being from this last category, is ashabul shimal, the people who will be given their book of deeds in their left hand. So these are the three categories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to discuss, and He's going to discuss what each of these is going to be given, right? And so where we left off last time exactly was وَحُورٌ عِينٌ كَأَمْثَالِ اللُّؤْلُؤِ الْمَكْنُونِ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. So one of the bounties, now this is a bounty, this is a ni'mah, this is a favor that will be given to both people, as-sabiqun and ashabul yamin, both. Currently, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the verse that we are in, He's just finishing the bounties or the favors that will be given to as-sabiqun, right? The forerunners, you can call them. So, one great bounty is that they will be given hurun ain. The word hur, it means, it refers to a very specific appearance. It's referring to a being that is the skin or the parts that are supposed to be white are extremely white, and the parts of the body that are supposed to be black, like for example the eyes, and for example in some riwayat the hair as well, they will be extremely black. So there will be a very beautiful contrast that will be given to these women, right, in Jannah, right? So there will be whiteness where whiteness is meant and preferred, and there will be shadid, there will be an extreme blackness to their hair, to their eyes. And also the word hur is also used to express a being or a woman that has big eyes, because according to the Arabs, having large eyes, right? That was considered a mark of beauty. So similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here, right? In fact, the next verse is mentioning wa hurun ain, right? Ain has to do with big eyes from aina, that they will have large eyes. كأمثال اللؤلؤ المكنون. Now, what is the example that they will be like? These hurun ain, these damsels of Jannah, you can call them, they will just be like hidden pearls. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using this comparison to pearls and also hidden? Number one, that when you have jewelry like pearls, they're extremely that's extremely precious jewelry, right? So when any of us keeps jewelry at home or pearls at home, I don't go just leaving it out on the table, like the dining table, or I don't just go leaving it out where I hang my keys, where it's accessible to everyone, right? If we have wives, if we have sisters and mothers in our house, and we've seen where they keep their jewelry, it is not just in a closet. It's in a closet inside a box and probably inside another box inside that box, right? So we keep it so secret. We keep it hidden away from people, right? Number one, so that dust and the things and those things that affect the environment, they don't affect that jewelry, and also to keep it away from the eyes of people, because you have jealousy and all these other types of maladies. You have all these types of diseases that people carry in them, and God knows which one of them can affect you. So similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is striking a very actually important point here, that although he's talking about the women of Jannah, right? The women of Jannah, right? So when it comes to the hurs, you will have two types. You will have those hurs who Allah subhanahu who will be made in Jannah, right? They've never seen the life of this dunya, period. So you will have those hurs. لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان, right? They've never been touched before, right? So that's one category. And then a second category, as it comes in narrations, are those women, are the believing women of this dunya, actually, right? So we know that the believing women of this dunya, they will, if they have husbands here, they will be married off. They'll be the hurs of those husbands in Jannah, and they will be given exponentially more beauty than even the hurs that were created in Jannah, right? And not just that, they will also be the leaders of those hurs in Jannah as well, right? So the now these hurs, at least the ones that are from this dunya, they should be a reflection of what the hurs are like in Jannah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to strike the example that women, the way they're supposed to be, right? كاللؤلؤ المكنون, right? Sometimes women think that staying in the house, there's many, a multitude of ahadith that highly emphasize the fact that as much as possible, without any good reason, women should stay at home, right? This is a fact in our deen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also telling us that this is also the sifa. And don't think that this is like you're in jail. This is not because a woman is inside a jail or something like that. It is because she is something to be protected. She is something very precious. She is the mamba of awlad. She is the spring of the children of the nation, right? And that spring ought not to be contaminated. So similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is just an ishara, this is, you can say, an indication that's being given from this verse. كَأَمْثَالِ اللُّؤْلُؤِ الْمَكْنُونَ, that those hurs in Jannah, those women in Jannah that will be given, they're like اللُّؤْلُؤِ الْمَكْنُون جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And this favor, as well as the favors that come in the verses right before it, for example, the abundance of fruits, and for example the abundance of meat and things like that in Jannah, all of this is being given to an individual jaza'an bima kanu ya'malun, as a reward, as a recompense for what they used to do in this dunya. Now there's a narration, and people bring this up, so I might as well address it. There is a narration wherein the Prophet ﷺ, he is quoted to have said, "وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَا يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ أَحَدٌ مِّنكُمْ بِعَمَلِهِ." That the Prophet ﷺ mentions that, and by the one in whose hand my soul lies, that nobody will enter Jannah with his own or due to his own actions, right? Wala anta ya Rasulullah, and even you, O Rasulullah, he said, Wala ana, even me. I am also the case. إلا أن يتغمدني الله برحمته. Unless Allah decides to enshroud me in His mercy, right? Now, the verse is over here was saying that people of Jannah, the people will enter Jannah because of their a'mal, because jaza'an bima kanu ya'malun. They will enter Jannah as a recompense, as a reward for their actions. But in this hadith, it's clearly explicit that nobody will enter Jannah because of their a'mal. Rather, they will enter Jannah because of the fadl and the bounty and the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the reality is actually this. The reality is that it is true that without the fadl and rahmah, without the bounty and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no one that can enter into Jannah, right? So I want to just to give an example. For those who know how to light fire, right, with your different wood and use the tinder box, right? So there's a certain movement that causes that fire to come about, right? Now, that same fire that you see, in its physical nature, it's supposed to be hot, right? In its physical nature, it's supposed to burn. However, these physical attributes that are attributed to these phenomena, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to do salb of them, has the ability to remove them, just like when Ibrahim alayhi salam, he was thrown into the fire. What happened to that fire? The quality of that fire was removed, although the fire is still the fire of this dunya. Its quality is that it's supposed to burn, and it was not any regular fire. It was a fire that they had gathered, they had stockpiled wood. They had gathered a whole lot of wood to the point that it is mentioned that if a bird were to fly on top, very high, just because of the flames and the scorching heat of that fire, the bird, even though it's not touching the flames, just the radiation emitting would cause that bird to be dead. So, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when his own Khalil, when Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown in that fire lost its ability for to burn him specifically, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is very telling that He has the ability, right, to remove the qualities. And similarly, when it comes to Jannah, right? Yes, our a'mal is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to do, and that is our key to Jannah, no doubt, right? But that is dependent, right? That is dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fadl as well. Just like how fire is dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ability and His permission, actually. His permission to allow it to burn. Similarly, our dukhul, our entry into Jannah is also dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's fadl and rahmah as well. So this is the tafsir of jaza'an bima kanu ya'malun. لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما إلا قيلا سلاما سلاما. Now, this is an extremely great bounty in Jannah, especially for those who get annoyed that لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما. In Jannah, there will be no talk that will be vain, and there will be no talk of sin. Talk of sin can be understood like, for example, ghiba, backbiting, for example, lying. These are talks of sin, even though you may not be actively participating in the act of ghiba, you may not be actively telling the lie, but you most probably will come across people, and you will sit across people who will be telling lies on the same dining table, who may also be doing ghiba on that table. In Jannah, that will not be the case at all. There will be no talk of sin. ولا لا لغوا فيها ولا تأثيما. So this is ithm, right? The ta'thima is understood as a sin, the talk of sin. What is laghu? This is very important to understand here, that laghu is vain talk, that talk that has zero purpose. Whereas talk like that theme, lying and backbiting, we know that the result of that, the bad result of that, although it can appear in the dunya as well, but it will truly manifest in the akhirah, right? A person will see the bad deed resulting from his bad deed, from his ghiba, truly in the akhirah, right? However, laghu is vain talk, which means that it's something that has zero benefit. Neither is it pushing forward a person that lives in this dunya, neither is it pushing forward an individual in the akhirah. It has zero value, both in the dunya and in the akhirah, right? And so this is something that Sharia actually very vehemently, right, discourages. Vain talk, right? Just talking about stuff that has zero value. Better than that, in fact, is actually to remain silent, right, in the Sharia. That is why it is mentioned in a narration that روي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم that من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه, that from the beauty of a person's Islam is that he leaves that which has nothing to do with him, right? The things that have nothing to do with him, things that will not benefit him here nor in the akhirah. Why should a person get involved with this type of stuff? And while I'm on this topic, I might as well bring this up, that when it comes to entertainment, we have to, so there, entertainment, you have to be very careful with entertainment, okay? One is that you are doing some form of entertainment, right? Or you are watching some form of entertainment, whether it's sports, whether it's a movie or whatnot, assuming all the content is halal in the first place. One is that you're doing it for the sake of refreshment. Okay, that's one thing. That Sharia has given ijaza for, as long as the content and as long as the action or the form of entertainment is valid in the first place. Okay, that is one. And then one is that you're just doing it for the sake of killing time. You're just it's Sunday, right, or it's Saturday, and you're just on your couch from subhanallah dhuhr all the way till the asr, just binge watching movie after movie, right, with your popcorn stashed on the right or left. So this is something that Sharia, even though technically speaking, it's very possible there's no sin involved, right? You couldn't there could It's possible that no non-mahram was seen by you. It is possible that nothing wrong was done. That's all possible. But this is something that even though there's nothing maybe from a Shari'i point of view wrong with it, it's something highly discouraged, right? It's something that, why would you put yourself in a situation where you are neither rolling forward your deen nor your dunya? And although I don't see many of the youth here, right? So sports is a very, very like big one here, right? So yeah, although there are in many cases sports itself, you have things that shouldn't be shown on TV, but let's ignore that. Obviously, you can ignore that. But if you're watching sports, right, and if you have a game that's lasting 3 hours, 4 hours, whatnot, right, here and there is okay. But to make it a habit constantly, right, this, I can guarantee that 95%, 99%, let's say, of those watching sports, this act is not going to benefit them whatsoever. In fact, many times what it's going to do is actually have the opposite effect. In fact, the stuff I'm saying, most of us already know. It's very obvious, right? For those who hear our parents, they understand the repercussions, they understand the consequences, right? If your child is involved in these extracurricular activities that are really taking away from his maqsad, that are really taking away from both advancing his, whether it be his halal career or in his dunya or in his deen, right? So this is something we have to be very careful of, and it is actually a quality of the people of Jannah that لا لغوا فيها لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما, that there will be no vain talk that they will have to listen to, and nor will there be any talk of sin that they will be listening to either. Illa qilan salaman salama. Except what will be sent to them is salam and salam. Now there is different meanings of this verse. One meaning is that the only talk that will be taking place in Jannah, the only thing that people will have to hear from one another is talk that will basically put them at peace, right? Salam, salam. That will put them at ease, right? That's the type of talk that they will hear. They will not have to listen to things that will like boil their blood over. And that is why it is mentioned in one ayah, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّن غِلٍّ. In Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before anybody enters into Jannah, Allah will have taken away ill feelings, right? Any feelings of hatred, any feelings uh, that that of malice, things like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will strip an individual from all those bad radha'il, from those bad qualities. And as a result, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen is obviously you're gonna only end up listening to things that are pleasing for insan. Another tafsir is that this is referring to two different types of salams actually. In Surah Yasin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Salamun qawlam min Rabbir Rahim. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He Himself will be delivering salam to the people of Jannah. There's a very lengthy narration on this. I won't get into it for the time being. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will gather the people of Jannah and He Himself will give or offer salam to the people of Jannah. And then in another verse, right? وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ يَدْخُلُ in Surah Al-Ra'd وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ يَدْخُلُونَ عَلَيْهِم مِّن كُلِّ بَابٍ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِمَا صَبَرْتُمْ فَنِعْمَ عُقْبَى الدَّارِ. That the malaika, the angels, will enter upon the people of Jannah. Salamun, what will they be saying to them? Salamun alaykum bima sabartum. That peace be upon you, right? May you be safe from everything. And this is everything that you're getting is bima sabartum, is because of your patience, because of your patience to stay away from that which is wrong, because of your patience to stick and have istiqamah and to be steadfast on your actions and a'mal in this dunya. All of that. This is why you are being given salam from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself and from the angels as well, subhanAllah. Next, the next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is going to move towards Ashabul Yamin, right? As I mentioned, the current up until now, we were discussing as-sabiqun, the forerunners. Now this is general, right? For everyone who will enter into Jannah. Now, entering into Jannah can be immediately and it can also be after as well. وَأَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ مَا أَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ فِي سِدْرٍ مَخْضُودٍ. And the people of the right, right? مَا أَصْحَابُ الْيَمِينِ, right? Who are the people of the right, right? Or what will make you know about the people of the right? في سدر مخضود وطلح منضود وظل ممدود وماء مسكوب. And so these people, في سدر مخضود, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sidr refers to the lotus tree, the lotus tree. And that tree is known to have a lot of thorns. But in Jannah, that same tree, that sidr, right? Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling it sidr, only He knows the reality of what that lotus tree will be like. So that tree will be makhdud, all of its thorns will be taken out, right? There will be nothing that will afflict insan. وَطَلْحٍ مَنْضُودٍ. And then you will have bananas that will be in layers, right? Mandud, just like if you see bananas that are stacked and how they come on the tree. So similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they will have a talhim mandud. You will have bananas. And again, what we think of banana, right? The flavor, the color, the texture, whatever we are thinking of it. The banana of Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what that will be like, right? This is just a form of expression to bring our adhan, to bring our minds close to what that fakiha, what those fruits will be like in Jannah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best of what the actual qualities of these things will be. وَظِلٍّ مَمْدُودٍ وَمَاءٍ مَسْكُوبٍ. And also there will be elongated, there will be a very long shadow. Now there's different interpretations of this particular verse. One interpretation is this, that in Jannah, since there will be no sun, there will be no sun that will be afflicting the people of Jannah, right? So what is meant is just like the time that we see that we're in right now after Fajr, the 45 minutes after Fajr, roughly before sunrise, where there's no sun, but there is still light, and it seems like there is a never-ending shadow all the way till your eyes can see, right? So similarly, the people of Jannah, the environment they will be in will be like this: that there will be no sun, and there will be that everything will be clear, but there will be no sun, there will be no sunlight, or there will be no heat that they will have to worry about, right? That is one. But it comes also in other narrations that when a person recites tasbih, that when a person recites Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, and Allahu Akbar, then a tree is planted for that individual, right, in Jannah. And when that tree is planted for that individual in Jannah, the length of that tree, the length of that tree is so long that it is mentioned that a horse could be running in the shade, or excuse me, yeah, in the shade of that tree for at least 100 years, right? Just one tree, subhanallah, right? So this is perhaps another interpretation of this verse. وماء مسكوب وفاكهة كثيرة لا مقطوعة ولا ممنوعة. And then, just like if you've been to a forest, if you've been to a place with greenery, the kamal of greenery, the epitome of greenery is when the greenery is accompanied with some sort of body of water, right? Whether it's a lake, whether it's a spring, whether it's a river. So when you have greenery and then you have water flowing also with it, right? That takes the beauty to another level. That's what wama in maskub, that you will have rivers, you will have springs, you will have lakes in Jannah. And we know from Surah Muhammad that there will be different rivers in Jannah. فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسٍ وأنهار من لبن لم يتغير طعمه وأنهار من خمر لذة للشاربين وأنهار من عسل مصفى. That in the gardens of Jannah you will have you'll have rivers of water غير آسٍ, that this water will never go bad, it will never go stale, right? That you over here in the dunya, although you have a river running to some point, right? Either it flows into the ocean or it goes into a marsh or a swamp, and then that same water, which was extremely pure, able to purify things, that itself becomes extremely dirty because it's stale. Now all the bacteria and all the fungus get stuck, all the algae there. But that will not be the case of the rivers of Jannah. They'll be constantly flowing, subhanallah. And then you will also have rivers of milk, right? Milk that will never spoil, right? You will have white, extremely white, and that milk will never go bad. And then you will have, as mentioned above, also rivers of khamr al-ladhati lish-sharibin. You will have the rivers of wine that will be for the sake of enjoyment. And it came before, لا يصدعون عنها ولا ينزفون. That those that khamar, that wine that the people of Jannah will be given, it will not cause them to be distracted. It will not take away any of their rational faculties. It will still allow them to be fully capable rationally, but it will be a means of pure pleasure, pure enjoyment. And then you will have the rivers asalim musaffa. You will have purified honey, rivers of purified honey, right? So those were the rivers of Jannah. وَفَاكِهَةٍ كَثِيرًا لَا مَقْطُوعَةٍ وَلَا مَمْنُوعَةٍ. And you will have an abundance of fruits. Now this is the uslub of the Quran, this is the style of the Quran, that at times we just talked about bananas and we talked about sidr, the lotus tree. The style of the Quran sometimes is that it will bring specific items, and then after that it will bring generally the discussion, right? التعميم بعد التخصيص, as we say in Arabic. That first it talked about bananas and it talked about specific fruits, and in other verses in the Quran it talks about other specific fruits. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in general that don't think that those are the only fruits that we have prepared for you in Jannah, right? Just in the dunya, just in our world, just in our region of, for example, Southern California, just look at the variety of fruits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed and bestowed us with. That cannot even match, forget, very far would be the match to the amount and the variety of fruits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for the people of Jannah. And better yet, لا مقطوعة ولا ممنوعة. Even though there may be a variety of fruits here for us, there you have all sorts of fruits in California, but not all of those fruits are available at one particular time. There are seasons. You can find apples in a certain season. You can find pomegranates in a certain season. You can find oranges in a certain season, and other seasons you cannot find them. Right? This is the dilemma of this dunya. Right? That you can't always have what you want. But in Jannah, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying la maqtu'a. There won't be a certain season for this fruit only. Those will always be available for insan. When he wants it, he can have it. Wala mamnu'a. Sometimes the season is there. Sometimes you have the season, but people will not allow you. There you have orchards. You have people that control those orchards, right? Maybe you cannot afford it, right? So you go to the Albertsons or whatnot, and you don't have the money to buy that apple, right? It's there. The season is there, but you don't have the means to get it. But in Jannah, that again, that's not going to be the case. Neither will you have to worry about it going out of season. Neither will you have to worry about that fruit you not having access to it. It will be accessible for you, and you can have it whenever you want. وفرش مرفوعة إنا أنشأناهن إنشاء فجعلناهن أبكارا عربا أترابا لأصحاب اليمين. وفرش مرفوعة. And the people of Jannah, they will have raised or elevated beds. Another interpretation of this verse is that this is referring to the fact that people, just like how we in your house you have one master bedroom, right? So you will have a master bedroom of furushim marfu'a, elevated in status. You will, and one thing of the one peculiar quality that's normally seen as a good thing in your master bedroom is that it's at the highest level of the house, right? However many stories the house is, at the highest level, and you have a balcony that overlooks everything, right? So this is one tafsir, that you will also have bedrooms that will be at the highest levels of the palaces, and they will have balconies. That will be overlooking their entire estate that they will have in Jannah, right? Another tafsir is referring to the fact that you will just have very highly elevated beds, right? For the sake of comfort, right? As opposed to just sleeping on the ground, you will have elevated beds that will give a person comfort. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what those beds will be like. Inna ansha'nahunna insha'a. Now the topic gets switched back to the hurs, right? Because now we were talking about the hur al-ain with respect to the sabiqun before, right? But now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now we're talking about everyone in Jannah anyways. So he says that now going back to the hur al-ain, it's not only for the sabiqun, it's not only for the forerunners, it's not only for them, right? They might have some better hur, they might have some more, but this is a ni'mah that will also be shared by Ashabul Yamin as well, by the people of the right as well. Inna ansha'nahunna insha'a. We have created them insha'an, right? Insha'an ajiban, right? غاية البعد والفهم. We have created them in such a way you cannot imagine. We have given them such husn and jamal. We have given them such beauty that and the women of this earth that you see here, over there in Jannah, the game is totally different. You cannot even bring your imagination to that level. فَجَعَلْنَاهُنَّ أَبْكَارًا. And we have made them all virgins, right? عُرُوبًا أَتْرَابًا. Urub, right, comes from aruba, right? And this refers to a woman who is extremely loving and affectionate to her husband, right? This is what the word uruban. Atraba, women of similar age, right? So the hurs that will be given or presented, they will be of similar age. They will be around the same age of the man himself. Now there was this is a very famous narration that one time there was a woman sitting with Aisha radiallahu anha, an old woman that was sitting with Aisha radiallahu anha, and and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he comes into the house, and she basically asked the Prophet that, will I be from the people of Jannah? Very excitedly, she asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam this, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for the sake of jest and for the sake of mizah, for the sake of you can say just playing around, right? He says that no old lady will enter into Jannah. He was joking around with her, and so the old lady, upon hearing this, she started crying. She thought the Prophet ﷺ was being serious about her specifically, not necessarily about what he's talking about. So she started crying, and then the Prophet ﷺ, he took the situation and he said that no, what is meant is that when you will be entered into Jannah, you will be given a very prime age, as mentioned in some riwayat, the age between 30 to 33. So that is the age that you will be given, right? And so then obviously she was okay after that. So this is عروبا أترابا لأصحاب اليمين. These bounties that we've discussed, these will be for ashabul yamin. These will be for the people of the right. And before I finish, actually, I want to lead with a story. And we read these verses, but I want to, just for the sake of understanding the magnitude of Jannah, just a little. There's a very beautiful narration about آخر من يدخل الجنة, the last person to ever enter into Jannah. Who will that person be, right? So it is mentioned that an individual, he will be running away from, he will be crossing Jahannam, right? And finally, when he gets across the fire of hell, he will look back, iltafata. He will look back, and then he will say that I have been blessed, meaning just be me being saved by Jahannam, or by not falling, or by not staying there. I have been blessed with that which the awwaleen and akhirin, that which the predecessors and those who came after have not been blessed with, right? Because as it is mentioned in the Quran, فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ. The one who has been saved, or who has been saved from Jahannam and has been entered into Jannah, فَقَدْ فَاز, then he has definitely gained success. So this individual will say that there's nobody more lucky. There's no, and mind you, he's the last person to enter into Jannah. He is saying that there's been nobody ever that's been more luckier than I have been. And then he will see a tree, and so he will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that أدنيني من هذه الشجرة أشرب من مائها وأستظل بظلها, that this tree looks really beautiful, oh Allah. Uh, uh, Put me underneath that tree so that I can take benefit from its shade, and so that I can drink from the springs and rivers around it, right? And then he will rest there. And then again, he's on the way to Jannah, right? So he's under this first tree, and then another tree he'll see from a distance, and that tree will look even better, because as the closer you're going to get to Jannah, logically makes sense that the path is just going to be more beautiful, right? For those who go on road trips from here to Yosemite, for example, right? So the road trip isn't so scenic in the beginning, but the closer you get to that national park, for example, it starts getting more beautiful towards the end, right? And similarly, the path towards Jannah, the closer you're getting towards it, it's getting more beautiful and beautiful. So he sees the second tree, and he says, Ya Allah, adnini min hadhihi shajara, that, oh Allah, bring me near to this tree as well. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring him near to that tree as well. And then finally there will be he will stay under this tree, And then he will look at another tree that's right at the gate of Jannah. And when he sees that tree obviously is at the gate of Jannah. So the level of that tree is even better than where he's at. And he will look at, or he will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this tree is right next to the gates of Jannah. Just put me there. I won't ask anything else after. That's it. I'm okay with just being at the gates of Jannah, right? I can be the gardener or something. So he will say he will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this, and then Allah will grant that wish to him, right? As well. And finally he will be at the gates. And then he will catch a glimpse of subhanallah what's happening inside Jannah, right? He'll be able to see just some manazir. And obviously when you're inside Jannah, that's not like the outside, right? And so he will ask Allah that, Allah, I'm already here, I'm at the gate, right? You might as well put me inside paradise now. And he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, did I not tell you, right, that that was your last wish? He said, yes, but I'm here. I'm at the gates, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the tawfiq to go into Jannah. Not just that, once he enters into Jannah, right? Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell him that take this وَمِثْلَهُ مَعَهُ, that you will have this, what you see, this Jannah in front of you, that what you see, and another one with it as well, right? And in some narrations it is mentioned that this individual will, that the size of his Jannah, right, will be 10 times the size of this dunya itself, subhanallah, right? That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared, right? So these verses that I've read so far, the idea is that it gives us a sense of motivation, right? This was what I just mentioned, the last individual to enter into Jannah. This is his level, right? So only imagine what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from the people of Jannah, and make us from, not just from the people who enter towards the end, but from those people who will have the khul awwali, who will have the early entrance into Jannah, and inshallah without hisab as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and ability to understand. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.